You know that kind of silence, don't you? Not the peaceful kind. Not the kind that comes after a good day when you sink into your sheets and let the world fade away. No. This is the silence that presses against your chest. The kind that makes you hyper-aware of every breath you take, every creak in the floorboards, every distant siren that reminds you the world outside is still moving while you're stuck in this moment. This is Amara's silence. Her apartment is small. Not cramped. She'd never let it be cramped. She's too disciplined for that. Everything has its place. The dishes are washed and stacked in the drying rack. The bills are folded neatly on the kitchen counter, organized by due date, not scattered in chaos, but arranged with the kind of precision that comes from necessity. There's a faint smell of detergent in the air, mixed with exhaustion, the kind you can't wash away no matter how clean you keep your space. She stands in the doorway of her son's bedroom, watching him sleep. His chest rises and falls in that perfect rhythm only children seem to possess. The rhythm of innocence, of trust, of a world that hasn't yet taught him to hold his breath. His name is Marcus. He's 7 years old. His sneakers are too small, but she hasn't told him yet. She's waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for enough. Always waiting. Amara watches him breathe, and something inside her cracks just a little bit more. She didn't ask for help because she believed someone would answer. She asked because not asking meant letting her son down. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this, really sit with it. When did you last do something that felt beneath your pride but above your fear? Hold that thought. We'll come back to it. Amara has learned things. Not the things they teach you in school. Not the things written in self-help books or whispered in motivational seminars. No, she's learned the kind of lessons that carve themselves into your bones, the kind you can't unlearn even if you wanted to. She's learned to speak softly, not because she's timid, God no. Anyone who knows her knows she's got fire in her veins. But she's learned that the world hears her differently, that when she speaks with passion, she's aggressive. When she stands her ground, she's difficult. When she asks for what she deserves, she's demanding. So, she speaks softly now. Calculated softness, strategic gentleness. She's learned to ask carefully. There's an art to asking for help when you're a black single mother in America. You can't ask too much, that makes you greedy. You can't ask too little, that makes you seem like you don't really need it. You have to strike this impossible balance between desperate and dignified, between humble and capable. And even when you get it right, there's always someone ready to remind you that you shouldn't need help at all. Amara sits on the edge of her bed now, her phone in her hand. The screen glows in the darkness, casting blue light across her face. She looks older than she is. 32 years old, but her eyes carry decades. Her fingers hover over a message thread she's never used before. A connection from a networking event 6 months ago. A business card she almost threw away. A name she researched late at night when she couldn't sleep. Julian Vale. Billionaire. Philanthropist. Known for changing lives. Known for answering messages that other powerful people ignore. But here's the thing about Amara. She doesn't believe in fairy tales. She doesn't believe in white knights or silver bullets or miraculous interventions. She's lived too much life for that. But she does believe in strategic action. She believes in using every resource available, no matter how unlikely. She believes in fighting for her son, even when she's too tired to fight for herself. So, she opens the message thread. She types slowly. Deletes. Rewrites. Deletes again. What do you say to a man who could change your life with a single response? How do you condense years of struggle into a few sentences? How do you ask for help without sounding desperate? How do you sound competent while admitting you're drowning? She doesn't mention race. She's learned that makes people uncomfortable. She doesn't mention being a single mother. That carries too much baggage, too many stereotypes. She doesn't mention pain. Powerful people don't want to hear about pain. They want to hear about potential. So she writes about potential, about skills she's developing, about a certification she's pursuing, about a gap she needs filled, not a handout, just a bridge, just a chance. The message is short, professional, humble without being self-deprecating, confident without being presumptuous. It's perfect. It's exhausting. She reads it one more time. Her thumb hovers over the send button, and then she thinks about Marcus, about his 2 small sneakers, about the field trip he can't go on next month, about the way he said, "It's okay, Mama," when she told him they couldn't afford the class photos this year, about the way he never complains, never asks for more, never makes her feel like she's failing, even though she feels like she's failing every single day. She presses send. The message disappears into the digital void. She turns the phone face down on the nightstand. She doesn't want to watch it, doesn't want to see the read notification if it comes, doesn't want to witness her own hope getting crushed in real time. She lies back on the bed and stares at the ceiling. She didn't know the man who would read it had already ruined lives by helping. 3,000 miles away, in a penthouse that costs more per month than most people make in a year, Julian Vale cannot sleep. This isn't unusual. Sleep has become a luxury he can't afford. Not because of his schedule, though his schedule is relentless. Not because of stress, though the weight of running a multi-billion-dollar empire would crush most people. No, Julian avoids sleep for a simpler reason. Sleep brings memories, and memories bring guilt. Julian is 41 years old, objectively handsome in that sterile, controlled way that comes with personal trainers and expensive skincare and a life lived in perpetual optimization. His hair is silver at the temples, not from age, but from the kind of stress that lives under your skin even when your face looks calm. His eyes are gray, cold gray, the kind of gray that makes people feel seen and studied simultaneously. He built his fortune in tech, then diversified into real estate, then venture capital, then philanthropy. The media loves him. They call him the fixer. They write articles about his revolutionary approach to charitable giving. They quote his philosophy, "I don't believe in handouts. I believe in hand-ups." It sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds empowering. Sounds fair. But here's what they don't write about. Julian's help always comes with strings. Not obvious strings, not crude, manipulative strings. No, Julian is far too sophisticated for that. His strings are woven of expectations, from accountability measures, from honest conversations about what you're doing wrong and how you need to change, from the subtle, insidious belief that if he's helping you, he has the right to reshape you. He's helped dozens of people, maybe hundreds, and most of them are grateful. But there are a few who escaped his help feeling less like they'd been saved and more like they'd been consumed. There was Rachel, a young entrepreneur he mentored. He invested in her company, gave her access to his network, opened doors that would have stayed closed for years. And in return, he expected what? Gratitude, yes. Loyalty, absolutely. But also something else, something harder to name. He expected her to listen when he told her she was making mistakes. He expected her to implement his suggestions, because they weren't really suggestions, were they? They were wisdom from someone who knew better. He expected her to change. And she did change. She became more cautious, more calculated, more like him. Until one day, she wasn't herself anymore. And when she tried to pull away, when she tried to reclaim her autonomy, he made it difficult. Not impossible. He's not a villain in the obvious sense, but difficult. Connections suddenly cooled. Investors suddenly had concerns. The doors that had opened began to close, not with a slam, but with a quiet, diplomatic click. Rachel left the industry altogether. Julian tells himself it wasn't his fault. She wasn't ready. She couldn't handle the pressure. She proved he'd been right to question her decisions. But late at night, when he can't sleep, he knows the truth. He helped her right out of her own life. It's 2:47 a.m. when Julian's phone lights up on the nightstand. He's not supposed to look at it. His therapist, yes, billionaires have therapists, has told him repeatedly about the importance of boundaries, of rest, of not being perpetually available to the world. But Julian has never been good at following advice that requires him to relinquish control. He picks up the phone. There are 17 unread messages. Most of them are from his assistant, prepping tomorrow's schedule. 3 are from board members with urgent questions that are never actually urgent. 1 is from his mother, who still texts him like it's 2005, complete with excessive ellipses and random capitalization. And then there's one from someone he doesn't immediately recognize, Amara Sinclair. He frowns, opens the message, reads it once, reads it again. It's different from the others he receives. Most people who message him are either sycophantic or entitled. Either they grovel or they demand, with very little in between. But this message is neither. It's clear, professional, specific. There's no sob story, no emotional manipulation, just facts. Just a request for an opportunity, not a rescue. Julian appreciates precision. He scrolls through her profile, sees her face, beautiful in a way that makes him uncomfortable because he knows the world will have judged her for it, will have made assumptions about her intelligence because of it. Sees her work history, gaps that tell stories she didn't include in the message. Sees her location, sees the single photo of her with her son. Something shifts in his chest. Not attraction, not pity, curiosity. He's awake because he avoids sleep. Sleep brings memories of a woman he saved, a relationship he unknowingly dominated, an exit she never chose. He starts typing. His reply is not generous. It's not warm or encouraging or filled with the kind of inspirational platitudes people expect from billionaire philanthropists. Julian doesn't do platitudes. He does honesty. Or at least he does what he believes is honesty. I appreciate your directness. Before I consider any form of involvement, I need complete transparency. Tell me exactly what you need, not what you think I want to hear. Tell me where you're struggling, what you've already tried, and why those approaches failed. I don't invest in potential. I invest in people who understand their own gaps and are willing to do uncomfortable work to close them. If you can provide that level of honesty, we can have a conversation. If not, I wish you well, but I'm not interested. He reads it over, considers softening it, decides against it. He presses send, sets the phone down, and for the first time in hours, he smiles. The question unsettled her more than rejection ever could. What would you do if someone offered you help, but only if you stripped yourself bare first? Only if you confessed every weakness, every failure, every moment of desperation? Would you do it? Or would you walk away? Remember that question. You'll need it soon. Amara stares at the message for 20 minutes before responding. Part of her is angry. Who does he think he is, demanding complete transparency from a stranger? What gives him the right to require her to expose herself before he'll even consider helping? But another part of her understands. He's protecting himself. She would do the same thing if she had the resources he has. She'd be tired of people trying to manipulate her, trying to play on her emotions, trying to take advantage of her generosity. She'd want honesty too. So she gives it to him. Not all at once, she's not reckless, but slowly, over the course of several messages, she tells him things she hasn't told anyone. She tells him about the promotion she didn't get because she couldn't work the late hours that would have required her to find childcare she couldn't afford. She tells him about the certification program she's been taking online, 30 minutes at a time, late at night after Marcus is asleep, chipping away at modules when her brain is too exhausted to absorb anything. She tells him about the gap, the $3,000 gap between where she is and where she needs to be to qualify for a position that could change everything, a position that would mean better insurance for Marcus, a position that she could afford the speech therapy her teacher keeps recommending, a position that would mean they could move out of this neighborhood where she holds her breath every time he walks to the school bus. She doesn't cry while she writes these messages. She stopped crying about her circumstances years ago, but her hands shake a little bit. Julian reads every word, And then he does something unexpected. He doesn't offer money. Instead, he offers her access to a training program through one of his companies, a training program that would normally cost $15,000, a training program that includes not just the certification she needs, but also mentorship, networking opportunities, and a direct pipeline to job placement. It's everything she asked for. And more. But, because there's always a but, there are conditions. She has to sign an NDA. Standard procedure, he explains. The program is proprietary. They can't have participants sharing curriculum details with competitors. She has to agree to a no personal attachment clause. This is a professional relationship, he emphasizes. They need boundaries to ensure the integrity of the program. She has to commit to weekly check-ins with him personally, to ensure accountability, to track progress, to make sure she's making the most of this opportunity. Amara reads the offer 3 times. It's everything she needs. So why does it feel like a trap? The help came with rules, and rules always cost someone something. What would you do? Would you sign? Would you take the opportunity and deal with whatever consequences came later? Or would you walk away from the best chance you've had in years because something about it feels wrong? Don't answer yet. Let's see what Amara decides. Amara signs the papers, not because she's naive, not because she doesn't see the red flags waving in the periphery of her vision. She signs because sometimes survival requires you walk into rooms that weren't built for you and pretend you belong there anyway. She signs because Marcus needs her to. The training program starts on a Monday morning in downtown Manhattan. The building is all glass and steel, and the kind of aggressive minimalism that rich people mistake for sophistication. Amara stands outside for 3 full minutes before she walks in, smoothing down her blazer, the good one, the one she bought at a consignment shop and had tailored to fit perfectly because she knows presentation matters when you're already starting from behind. The lobby smells like money. That's the only way to describe it. Leather and expensive coffee and something else, something intangible that tells you the people who work here have never worried about whether the check will clear. She takes the elevator to the 14th floor. The training room is smaller than she expected, intimate. There are 12 participants total. She's the only black woman. She's the only single mother, or at least the only one whose motherhood is visible in the bags under her eyes, in the way she checks her phone obsessively during breaks to make sure the after-school program confirmed pickup, in the way she eats her lunch quickly, efficiently, like someone who's used to not having enough time. The other participants are younger, mostly, fresh-faced and confident in that way that comes from never having been told no. They have degrees from schools Amara couldn't have afforded to visit, let alone attend. They make references to concepts she has to Google later. They laugh easily, network naturally, exchange business cards like currency. Amara watches, learns, adapts. The program is intense. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Technical skills in the morning, leadership development in the afternoon, guest speakers from Fortune 500 companies, panel discussions about disruption and innovation, and other words that sound impressive but rarely include people who look like her. She absorbs everything, takes notes by hand because writing helps her remember, stays late to review material, arrives early to claim the same seat every day, back corner, near the outlet where she can charge her phone and her laptop simultaneously because she can't afford for either to die. And she performs. God, does she perform. She answers questions with precision, contributes to group projects with insights that make the facilitators pause and nod approvingly, builds models that are cleaner, more innovative than what the younger participants with better pedigrees produce. She performs twice as well and is thanked half as much. She is the only black single mother in the room. Polite smiles, quiet judgment. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from being excellent in spaces that expect you to be mediocre. It's not just the work itself, though the work is demanding. It's the constant calculation, the awareness that every word you say will be weighed differently, that if you're confident, you're aggressive. If you're quiet, you're unprepared. If you ask questions, you're behind. If you don't ask questions, you're arrogant. It's the knowledge that you can't just be good. You have to be undeniable. And even then, sometimes it's not enough. By the third week, Amara is running on 4 hours sleep and pure determination. Marcus has stopped asking when she'll be home for dinner. Her body aches in places she didn't know could ache. She's lost 6 pounds she couldn't afford to lose. But she's also gaining something. Skills, connections, possibility. And Julian is watching. It happens during a guest speaker session. A prominent venture capitalist, white, male, wealthy in that generational way that makes you forget people earn money, is talking about his investment philosophy. He makes a joke, something about diversity hires and lowering the bar, and how his firm is committed to excellence, not quotas. The room laughs. Not everyone, but enough people. Amara's jaw tightens. She doesn't say anything. She's learned when battles are worth fighting and when they're not. This isn't her space. These aren't her people. And she needs this program more than she needs to educate a room full of people who will forget her the moment she's gone. But Julian, who's sitting in the back, observing the session, as he sometimes does, sees her face, and he makes a choice. "I'm going to stop you there, Marcus." The room goes quiet. The venture capitalist looks confused. "I'm sorry?" That comment about diversity hires, it's not just offensive, it's factually inaccurate. The data shows that diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones in every measurable metric. And reducing someone's presence in a room to a diversity hire ignores the additional barriers they had to overcome just to get there. So let's not perpetuate that narrative in my program. The room is silent now, uncomfortable. The venture capitalist stammers something about just joking and no offense intended, and how he's actually very supportive of diversity initiatives. Julian nods, thanks him for his time, and politely suggests they move to the next topic. Later, people approach Amara, tell her how brave Julian was, how lucky she is to have someone like him in her corner, how they wish their bosses were as progressive. And Amara smiles, says thank you. But inside, something curdles, because Julian defended her. But he didn't ask her if she wanted to be defended. He spoke for her, not with her. And in doing so, he made her the woman who needs defending, the woman who can't handle herself, the woman whose presence in the room is a statement that requires protection. That night, she sends him a message. "I appreciate what you did today, but I need you to understand something. When you speak for me without asking first, you take away my agency. You make me smaller, not bigger. I know you were trying to help, but help doesn't always look like rescue." She stares at the message for a long time before pressing send. Immediately regrets it. Wonders if she just jeopardized everything. Julian doesn't respond right away. Hours pass. Then a full day. Amara attends the program sessions with a knot in her stomach. Checks her phone during every break, wonders if she crossed a line, wonders if she should apologize, wonders if this is how it ends, not with a dramatic confrontation, but with silence. When Julian finally responds, his message is brief. "I appreciate your understanding." That's it. No warmth, no attempt to discuss it further, no acknowledgement of the relationship they've been building over weeks of late-night conversations and vulnerable admissions. Just professional boundaries. And Amara realizes what she's done.
She's drawn a line in the sand, and Julian has stepped behind it. Over the next week, he stops attending the program sessions, sends an associate to do the check-ins instead, responds to her progress reports with single-sentence acknowledgments. The voice notes stop, the questions stop. The sense that someone powerful is invested in her success stops. She gets what she asked for, professional distance, and it feels like punishment. Marcus asks her one night while she's tucking him in, "Mama, why are you sad again?" She has no answer. For the first time since midnight, she wished he'd never answered. Have you ever gotten exactly what you asked for and realized it wasn't what you wanted? Have you ever set a boundary that protected you and isolated you simultaneously? Have you ever been right and lonely at the same time? It's a particular kind of pain, isn't it? The pain of knowing you did the right thing and still losing something precious. The rumors start in week 5. Whispers in the bathroom, pointed looks during group sessions, a shift in the energy whenever Amara walks into a room. At first, she thinks she's being paranoid, but then someone says something. It's another participant, younger, white, the kind of confidence that comes from never having to prove you deserve to be anywhere. Must be nice to have a direct line to Julian Vale. Some of us actually had to earn our way into this program. Amara freezes. Excuse me? I'm just saying, it's interesting that you're the only person he personally recruited. Makes you wonder what the selection criteria really were. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. Amara wants to respond, wants to defend herself, wants to explain that she earned this spot just like everyone else, that she's worked harder than any of them can imagine, that her direct communication with Julian was about mentorship, not favoritism. But she knows how this works. Anything she says will be used against her. If she's angry, she's proving them right. Too emotional, too defensive, clearly guilty. If she's calm, she's cold, calculating, manipulative, definitely guilty. There's no winning. So she says nothing, just walks away. But the rumors don't. They spread like infection, mutate with each retelling. By the end of the week, the story has evolved. She's sleeping with Julian. She's blackmailing him. She got pregnant and trapped him. She's running some elaborate long con. The creativity of cruelty never ceases to amaze. The program facilitators hear the rumors. They have to address it, they say. They have to maintain the integrity of the program. They need to ask her some questions, just to clear things up, just to protect everyone involved. The questions are polite, but the subtext isn't. Did Julian show you preferential treatment? Did you receive any benefits the other participants didn't? Was your relationship with him ever inappropriate? Amara answers honestly, explains the timeline, shows the messages, the professional ones anyway, demonstrates that she met all the same requirements as everyone else. But she can see it in their eyes. They're looking for a reason to believe the rumors, because the rumors are easier than the truth. The truth requires them to acknowledge that excellence exists outside their comfortable assumptions, that a black single mother from a struggling neighborhood might actually belong in their elite program, not because she was handed something, but because she earned it. And that truth is too uncomfortable. So they choose the rumors. The facilitators inform her that her position in the program is under review, that they need to conduct a thorough investigation, that in the meantime, perhaps it would be best if she didn't attend sessions while they sort things out. It's not expulsion, but it's not far from it. Amara sits in her car in the parking garage afterward and stares at her hands on the steering wheel. She doesn't cry. She's too angry to cry. Julian finds out about the investigation within hours. Not from Amara. She hasn't contacted him. The silence between them has calcified into something heavy and immovable. He finds out from his chief of staff, who heard it from the program director, who's panicking because if this becomes a scandal, it could damage the company's reputation, and would Julian please clarify the nature of his relationship with Miss Sinclair so they can handle this appropriately. Julian's first instinct is rage, not at Amara, at the situation, at the small-minded people who couldn't conceive that a woman like her might deserve to be in that room without his intervention. His second instinct is to fix it, because that's what he does. He fixes things. He could make this go away with a single phone call, could clarify that his communication with Amara was no different than his communication with 3 other program participants he's mentoring, could threaten to pull funding from the program if they continue this investigation, could have his lawyers draft something that would make the rumor spreaders very nervous about continuing to spread rumors. He could stop everything, quietly, efficiently. But doing so would prove every rumor true, would confirm that Amara's success is contingent on his protection, would cement her position as the woman who can't survive without him, would take away the very thing she told him she needed most, her agency, her right to stand on her own merit. He sits in his office, staring at the skyline, wrestling with the impossible choice: save her and diminish her, or step back and let her fall. He realizes helping isn't love. Control isn't protection. For the first time in his adult life, Julian Vale doesn't know what to do. Amara doesn't wait for Julian to decide. She doesn't wait for the investigation to conclude. She doesn't wait for vindication that may never come. Instead, she makes a choice that surprises everyone, including herself. She resigns, publicly, sends an email to the program director CCing all the participants and facilitators. Effective immediately, I am withdrawing from this program, not because of any impropriety, there was none, not because I don't deserve to be here, I do, but because I refuse to participate in a process that presumes my guilt based on who I am rather than what I've done. I came to this program to develop skills that would allow me to better provide for my son and serve my community. I've accomplished that goal, with or without a certificate. What I haven't accomplished, and what this program was apparently never designed to provide, is a space where my merit speaks louder than assumptions about how I earned my seat. To the facilitators, you had an opportunity to stand against bias. You chose institutional comfort instead. That's a choice you'll have to live with. To my fellow participants, some of you believed the rumors, some of you spread them, and some of you said nothing while they spread. All three responses tell me everything I need to know about the integrity of the networks you're building. To Julian Vale, thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry it came with a cost neither of us anticipated. She presses send before she can second-guess herself. Within minutes, her phone explodes. Messages from participants, some apologizing, some defensive, some calling her unprofessional. Messages from facilitators, asking her to reconsider, warning her about burning bridges. But no message from Julian. Not yet. Amara picks up her son from the after-school program, makes him his favorite dinner, mac and cheese with cut-up hot dogs, the fancy kind that come in the red package, sits with him while he does homework, reads him a story before bed. And when Marcus is asleep, she sits in the darkness of her living room and lets herself feel the weight of what she just did. She walked away from the best opportunity she's ever had. She walked away from connections that could have changed her life. She walked away from a program that could have opened doors that have been closed her entire existence. And she did it to keep her dignity. She keeps her self-respect. Let me ask you something. Really ask you. Would you choose stability or self-respect if you couldn't have both? Would you stay in a room where your presence is questioned, your merit doubted, your very existence treated as suspicious if leaving meant losing everything you worked for? Or would you walk away, knowing that some prices are too high even for survival? This is the question Amara answered. This is the choice she made. And now she has to live with it. Julian reads Amara's email 7 times. Each time, different sentences hit him differently. I refuse to participate in a process that presumes my guilt. You had an opportunity to stand against bias. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry it came with a cost neither of us anticipated. That last line breaks something in him, because she's apologizing, even in her resignation, even in her justified anger, even as she's walking away from everything, she's apologizing for making things complicated. And that tells him everything about what it costs to be her in a world like his. Julian makes a decision, not the kind of decision he's made before, the calculated, strategic, politically savvy decisions that have built his empire. This is a different kind of decision, the kind that costs something, the kind that can't be undone. He calls an emergency board meeting. His chief of staff tries to talk him out of it. Julian, if you make a statement now, it will look like you're confirming the relationship. Let this blow over. Let the program handle it quietly. But Julian isn't interested in quiet anymore. He stands in front of his board, 12 of the most powerful people in the industry, and says, I want to address the situation with Amara Sinclair directly. Yes, I recruited her for the program. Yes, I mentored her personally, and I would do it again, because she is precisely the kind of candidate this program was designed to serve. Someone with exceptional ability who's been systematically denied access to resources that would allow that ability to flourish. The rumors about impropriety are false, but more importantly, they're revealing. They reveal that we've built systems where a black woman's competence is less believable than conspiracy theories about how she slept her way into a room. They reveal that even in programs designed to promote equity, we default to suspicion when someone who doesn't fit our narrow template of success excels. I'm not here to defend Amara. She doesn't need my defense. Her work speaks for itself. I'm here to indict us, to indict me, because I built a program that claimed to be about opportunity but didn't protect the people it was supposed to serve. And that's a failure of leadership. The room is silent. One board member finally speaks. Julian, I appreciate the sentiment, but this kind of statement could expose us to... I don't care about exposure. I care about being right, and we were wrong, so we're going to fix it. We're going to implement mandatory bias training for all program staff. We're going to create external oversight for any investigations involving discrimination claims. We're going to make our selection criteria public so no one can question whether participants earned their seats. And we're going to personally apologize to Amara Sinclair. Another board member, Julian, she resigned. The matter is closed. No, the matter is open until we make it right. He doesn't wait for their approval. He breaks his own rules, publicly. That afternoon, he publishes a statement on the company's website, on his personal social media, on every platform where silence would be noticed. He names the problem, takes responsibility, outlines specific actions the company will take, and ends with, "To Amara Sinclair, I'm sorry. You deserved better from me, from this program, and from the people who should have seen your excellence instead of questioning your presence. Thank you for having the courage to walk away when staying would have cost you something you couldn't afford to lose." The statement goes viral. The media picks it up. Billionaire takes responsibility for discrimination in elite training program. His inbox floods with messages, some praising him, some calling him performative, some questioning whether this is just good PR. He doesn't care about any of it. He cares about one person's response, and she still hasn't called. 3 days later, Julian shows up at Amara's apartment. He doesn't call first, doesn't text to ask if it's okay, just shows up at 7:30 p.m. on a Thursday with no plan and no script and no idea what he's going to say. This is not like him. Julian Vale does not do spontaneity, does not make grand gestures, does not show up unannounced at people's doors like some character in a romantic comedy. But here he is. Amara opens the door, sees him, and freezes. "What are you doing here?" "I don't know." It's the most honest thing he's ever said. She doesn't invite him in right away, just stands there, hand on the doorframe, evaluating. Behind her, Julian can hear Marcus's voice, something about dinosaurs, that endless enthusiasm children have for their current obsession. "You made a statement." "I did." "Why?" "Because you were right. About everything. About me speaking for you instead of with you. About help not always looking like rescue. About the cost of accepting support from someone who thinks support means control." She studies his face. "That's a nice speech, Julian, but what do you actually want?" And here's where he could say something smooth, something about making amends, about wanting to help her finish the program, about funding her goals through a different avenue, something that would let him feel like he fixed it. But he doesn't. "I don't want to fix your life. I want to be allowed inside it." The words surprise both of them. "What does that mean?" "I don't know. I've never done this before. I've helped people. I've mentored people. I've invested in people. But I've never just been with someone, without an agenda, without a plan, without trying to shape them into something I think they should be. And I don't know how to do that. But I want to learn, if you'll let me." Amara is quiet for a long time. "I read what you wrote, about taking responsibility, about the changes you're making to the program. Good. You should know. But words are easy, Julian. Rich people are really good at words, at statements that sound progressive, at promises that look good in press releases.
So I need to know, are you here because you want to clear your conscience, or because you actually understand what you did wrong? Both. Is that honest enough? And somehow, that's what does it. The admission that he's complicated, that his motivations aren't pure, that he's trying to be better while still being fundamentally himself, flawed, controlling, but attempting. You can come in, but Marcus is about to have his bedtime meltdown, and I'm not performing calm parenting for your benefit, so if you're staying, you're seeing the real thing. I want the real thing. He steps inside. That night, Julian meets Marcus. Watches Amara navigate the bedtime routine with the kind of exhausted competence that makes him realize how little he's actually understood about her life. Sees her be firm and gentle simultaneously. Sees her negotiate with a 7-year-old about whether dinosaurs need to brush their teeth too. Sees her tired, real, uncurated. And he doesn't try to help, doesn't offer suggestions, doesn't reorganize her approach. Just sits on the couch and bears witness. After Marcus is finally asleep, a process that takes 45 minutes and requires 3 glasses of water, 2 bathroom trips, and a lengthy discussion about whether T-Rexes could do cartwheels, Amara collapses next to Julian. This is my life. Every day. There's no version of me that doesn't include this. No version where I have unlimited free time or flexibility, or the ability to just drop everything and focus on my career. So if you're here, you need to understand that. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not going to become someone easier to be with. I'm not going to smooth out my edges or make myself more convenient. I've spent my whole life making myself palatable to people who had power over me, and I'm done with that. I don't want you palatable. I want you. Then stand beside me. Not ahead, not behind, beside. As an equal. Even though you have more money. Even though you have more connections. Even though you're used to leading. Can you do that? Julian is quiet. Because it's a real question. One that requires a real answer. I don't know if I can. But I want to try. And if I fail, because I'm sure I will, I want you to call me on it, the way you did before, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. That's all I needed to hear. She doesn't kiss him, doesn't declare her feelings, doesn't give him the romantic resolution he might have expected. Instead, she just sets a boundary. Clear, firm, non-negotiable. We can try this, whatever this is, but the moment you start trying to fix me, manage me, or improve me, I'm out. And I won't give you a second chance, because I can't afford to teach you how to respect me at the cost of my own dignity. Understood. And for the first time, Julian Vale enters a relationship where he's not in control, where he has to trust someone else to lead, where love doesn't mean having all the answers, just being brave enough to sit in the questions together. Midnight again. 6 months later. Same apartment, though Amara and Marcus will be moving soon. Not because Julian paid for it, because Amara got a job. A good one. One that she earned through skills she developed and connections she built herself, with support that didn't come with strings. Different woman, same strength, but worn differently now. Not armor anymore. Just herself. She stands in Marcus's doorway, watching him sleep just like she did that first night. But this time, she's not alone. Julian is beside her, not fixing anything, not offering solutions, just present. He's learned to be quiet, to ask before speaking, to support without smothering, to love without controlling. He's not perfect at it. They fight sometimes. He forgets himself occasionally, slips into old patterns of thinking he knows best, and when he does, she calls him on it, and he apologizes, and they figure it out. Together. The phone lights up on the nightstand. A message from a woman Amara doesn't know. I know this is random, but I saw your story about the training program and what happened.
and I'm sitting here at midnight trying to decide if I should ask someone powerful for help or if I should just keep struggling alone. What would you tell me to do?" Amara picks up the phone, starts typing, stops, looks at Julian. "What should I tell her?" That's not an answer. "I know, but it's your story to tell, not mine." Amara nods. Type slowly. "Ask for help, but don't lose yourself in the asking. Know the difference between support and salvation, between mentorship and control, between someone who wants to help you become who you're meant to be and someone who wants to shape you into who they think you should be. And if you can't tell the difference, walk away. Because the right help will respect your agency, and the wrong help will cost you more than struggling alone ever could." She presses send, sets the phone down, and Julian reaches for her hand. Not to guide her, not to protect her, just to hold it. Two people who learned the hard way that love isn't about saving someone, it's about standing beside them while they save themselves. Sometimes the miracle isn't the reply.
It's the courage to ask and the strength to walk away when the help costs too much. Sometimes love isn't about having all the answers. It's about being humble enough to admit you don't. Sometimes power isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about trusting someone else to write their own ending. And sometimes midnight isn't the end of hope. It's just the beginning of a different kind of morning. If this story found you in a quiet moment, if it made you think about the messages you've sent, the help you've accepted, the dignity you fought to keep, if it reminded you that asking for help isn't weakness but wisdom, and that knowing when to walk away is power, then do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, because there are more stories like this one, more midnight moments, more impossible choices, more people finding their way through darkness towards something that looks like light. And leave a comment. Tell me, would you have sent the message? Would you have signed the papers? Would you have walked away? I want to know, because your story matters too. And maybe, just maybe, someone else sitting in their own midnight needs to hear it. Until next time, remember that the bravest thing you can do isn't always saying yes to help. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's saying only on my terms. Sometimes it's saying I'd rather struggle with my dignity intact than succeed on my knees. And that's not pride. That's survival. That's power. That's love.